Hey guys, so today I'm going to show you how I created the instrumental for me and Andy's metal cover of Post Malone's big hit, Rockstar. I'm going to start by explaining, the setup, what I had planned from the get-go of the song as soon as I heard it, and then I'm going to go into each individual part, kind of dissect it, explain how I came up with it, and how I ensured that each part would be cohesive and make one really awesome instrumental at the end. So after listening to the song a few times, a few things popped out right away, which was that the song is definitely in some kind of minor key. It sounds very sad, but it also sounds very epic. And the biggest thing that popped out was that there was ambience everywhere, and it sounded beautiful. That instantly made me think of influences such as Architects, Northlane, Invent Animate, and Loathe. I was like, all right, that's going to be kind of the basis of the song. It's going to be ambient, and it's going to be heavy. I knew that right away. Next thing I went to is, okay, what is the key of the song and what tuning do I want to use? Well, I found the key pretty fast. It was just in G minor. Now, what I'd normally do is just tune to the drop equivalent. So in this case, G minor, I tuned to drop G. However, I wanted to use a little trick I learned from a band called Loathe. They essentially used that same idea, but they tuned an additional half step lower. So in this case, they wouldn't tune to drop G, they tuned to drop F sharp. Now they do this because that F sharp is actually the harmonic minor note in G harmonic minor. And that note sounds very dark. So to have that note be an octave lower that you can kind of use for extra dynamics, I was like, that's beautiful. We're going to use that and add some kind of diversity, some uniqueness to this song. And the last thing I essentially did was just put the track in my DAW, made sure the BPM was aligned, and I was good to go. All right, so one of the first things you encounter in the song is that big ambient melody that's pretty much used throughout the entire song. It sounds like this. That's just 4 notes. It's taken directly from the song. Now, since that's all I'd be playing during those parts for the guitar parts, I wanted to innovate a bit. I wanted to make it a bit more exciting for guitar. So I took that first note, I found the lower octave, and I just combined it with all those 4 notes, and I used kind of a different picking pattern, different rhythmic pattern. And that's that part right there. All right, so now we get into the most recognizable part of the song where the guitars really kick in. Essentially how I came up with this part is I just took the chord progression of the song, which it either is just kind of chilling on that G, or it goes like this. It goes to a G, to an A sharp, and then all the way to a D sharp. That's what the song itself is doing. So I took that chord progression, added a few more chords, and kind of just innovated on the whole thing. So I brought it down an octave, so. Again, throwing in that harmonic minor note just for dynamics. It's not actually part of the chord progression, but it just adds some fun flair to it. So the chord progression would go like this. Again, there's that second chord, that A sharp that's used. Then I just go to the regular D sharp. Right? So those extra notes are pretty much just random. It's just, I know my scales very well, and I just pick random notes from the scales that I think would sound good. All the thought is really put into the chord progression. All right, so I go from here, that's the third chord, and then I add to this right here, and then I go back to that open to end it. And then it repeats, right? Now I essentially pick those chords by just playing over the song and fiddling around, seeing if I could add more chords, if the vocals would sound good over them. And they happen to sound really nice, even with this, the harmonic minor note chord, okay? And that's how I came up with that part. And the rhythms, again, nothing special, just I used a little bit of polyrhythmic thinking. I was thinking groove, ambient, I was thinking essentially Architects and Northlane, stuff like that, okay? And that's how I came up with probably the most iconic part of the song. All right, so for the next part, what we do is we go back to that same intro riff, that clean ambient part. So the ambient part's still playing, right? But I didn't want to just be playing that for the whole time, right? I wanted to make it a little more fun guitar-wise, but still not make it so that it's kind of overpowering the clean vocals that I know would go right there. So I played around with my G minor scale, And eventually I came up with something that wasn't too technical, but still, it was fun, you know? It sounds like it fits very nicely. It's this. Right? And then that just keeps repeating through the whole time. Again, it's just knowing your scales really helps. And yeah, I thought it would add a little more oomph to the clean part instead of just playing that one, you know, ambient note consistently for the whole time. And the drums themselves, essentially, they just follow the exact same beats, same snare hits, same hi-hat hits as the songs themselves. All right, let's move on to the next part. All right, so the next part is the pre-chorus. I instantly knew I needed something kind of faster paced, something aggressive in order to blend that very soft, clean part with the groovy, heavy chorus that comes right after. So first thing I thought of was something like this. I was like, okay, great. I started adding some random higher notes with that chord. Again, those notes aren't as important. I essentially just randomly picked from my scales that I know very well, which is, it's all in G minor, right? Now, the chord progression, I go to that higher G instead of the lower one, and then I go to that A sharp, which is the exact same as the actual chord progression of the original song, and then I go down to the drop D sharp, so still the same, and then I alternate back to the chord progression I make in the chorus for the second half, which is this chord that I add on, and then I end with this harmonic minor note again. So that when, you know, you go back into the chorus, it's a lot more impactful. You know, so that's how I made that part. Essentially, the next minute of the song just repeats all of that again until it gets to the pre-breakdown, the breakdown, and then the final breakdown again. All right, so now we're gonna move on to the pre-breakdown / the first breakdown. The pre-breakdown has essentially the same exact chord progression as the chorus, except the emphasis is on different notes. It's on those kind of odd notes, such as the harmonic minor notes, to add a bit of a different feel, but same chord progression. First note, that harmonic minor right there. Back to that D sharp. Now, instead of going down like we usually would, I was like, let's add something different. So I went to the harmonic minor note, but an octave higher. Okay, that's how I made that part. The breakdown kind of follows the same structure, essentially. So it goes like this. Again, those higher notes, they're just randomly picked from my scale. I thought they would sound nice, but it's, again, all in G minor, all in G harmonic minor as well, as you'll hear here. So the only difference from the pre-breakdown in terms of chord progression is this added chord right here. That turns into the harmonic minor chord right after. Just again, something to slightly differentiate it. The whole song is really structured around that same chord progression. The reason I'm able to make it all sound different is with these slight changes. That's why they're so essential. All right, so now we're gonna move on to the second breakdown / the ending of the song. Now, there's nothing very special about this part. Essentially, I just kind of have fun with different rhythms, use a bit of polyrhythms here and there, but it's all just essentially chugging on that G right there. The little variations is what makes it stand out. So it starts like this. So right there, that bend, that's very North Laney. It adds a new dynamic. Also adding in these little dissonant chords, so right there, more variation, and then even just adding in some notes from the minor / harmonic minor scale, right? So and then it's just rhythm. So that's really what I'm thinking there. Again, it's just the minor scale, harmonic minor scale, and some bends, some extra dissonant chords, just to make it sound a little more fun is all, okay? Now, from there it goes on to the chorus again, then it repeats that exact same second breakdown, then it ends with a final breakdown, which is essentially, again, just jamming on that same G power chord, except it's halftime, it's a lot slower, and it kind of has an Architects feel, North Laney for sure. You know, I wanted to end with something very heavy, very epic, very slow, very ambient as well. So that's how I came up with that. And then it ends, the only kind of special thing is that it ends like this. So right there, that It's actually very deathcore-y, you could say, that riff. But because of all the ambient going around, you don't really think of it as a deathcore riff. You just think of it as something that sounds unique in it. Well, there you have it, guys. That's how I created the instrumental for Andy and I's metal cover of Post Malone's Rockstar that is nearing 1 million views right now. Absolutely insane. Essentially, it was all about staying true to the essence of the song and adding a bunch of slight variations that really brought the song to a new level. All these slight variations were based on chord progressions and scales, which I happen to know quite a bit about. If you yourself are interested in learning more about those but always hated theory, I actually teach that. And I don't use theory, I use logic and what I like to call pattern recognition. If you're interested, be sure to email nickpopovich16@gmail.com. All right. If you like this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Be sure to leave a like so I know, and then I know I'll do more of these types of videos. All right. I want to give a special thanks to a few of my Patreons: Chris, Christian, Cole, Miguel, Alric, Misty, Geo, Storm, and Bo. Thank you all so much as usual. And to answer the question that you all have been thinking for however long this video has been, which has been very long so far. Yes, there's going to be more metal covers from the new Post Malone album. Phantom, I was meant to find